Picking them up at the Atlanta airport, Tuesday, going to Red Top Mountain State Park.
Okay, we'll hop into it. We'll hop into it. So thanks for being here this morning. This is the second episode of Stories of St. Augustine. So this is a new monthly series. We'll be doing this first stretch where I interview people about their stories of St. Augustine's and their life and faith. And so I'm delighted this morning to have my friend Lillian Thomas with us. She's a mean karaoke singer. I know that because we were coming back from Brunswick for the St. Anne Alexander pilgrimage a few years ago, and turned on the Tina Turner, and there was.
Yeah, that's my girl.
It was great. Maybe there'll be some singing today.
No.
I was also curious which hat she would wear this morning. So this is conversational. I have questions, but if questions occur to you, just raise your hand at any point, and we can. It's not. I mean, there's a loose structure. It's very informal. Okay. So I'm curious. What was your earliest memory of St. Augustine's?
Well, I got to St. Augustine's by way of coming up here. Father Phelps was head of the convocation at that time, and I was at another parish. And I was a junior warden. Senior warden and I had to come up here several times to discuss things that were going on. And so I got to know Father Phelps real well. And then as time progressed, I ended up working with Chris. She and I ended up working together. So I got to know her well. And once I fulfilled my obligations of being on the vestry, one Sunday morning, I came out of my development to the street, and to go to the other church, I would turn right. To come here, I would turn left. So when the light turned green, for whatever reason, I turned left and came here to St. Augustine's. I walked in the door. I knew many people, because I had met them over the years, knew they had attended here, and so I felt very welcome when I first came in, and I learned very quickly that this is a very caring and loving church.
So after that first visit, were you basically a regular here from then on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I came that Sunday and continued on ever since, and I've been here over 30 plus years.
Yay.
And where had you, I mean, you told me this privately, but where had you been before coming here?
At St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
At St. Mary's.
And
we had, our priest had retired, and we had different priests coming in, filling in. And while that was going on, the congregation just thought they were just gonna do whatever. So the senior warden and I, we just had a fight. We were actually literally verbally fighting almost every week about something. So that's how we ended up being with Father Phelps. So, and he ended up calling in the canon. And so it calmed down. And then they assigned Father DeLong, Raymond's father. And he came with us, and he straightened him. He got him straight.
what had brought you to St. Mary's in the first place?
My aunt, who was married to my uncle in Philadelphia, was from Augusta, and she knew that church, Episcopal Church, by name, and so she told me to go there. I had gone, I guess, about 3 months when I first moved down here with my in-laws, and they were Baptists. And I came home one Sunday and said to my husband, I said, I can't handle this no more. I said, all day, they'd get me 9 o'clock in the morning, I would come home till 7 o'clock Sunday night. That was too much church for me.
Wow.
Too much. They ate after church, and then they had, you go back in, because it was a country church, and it just was too much, too long of a day. You know, I said, I've got to get back to my roots, because I'm a cradle Episcopalian. I've been Episcopalian all my life.
So tell me something about growing up in the Episcopal Church. Yeah, kind of early memories for you as a girl.
Well, I didn't realize the parish I was going to, I grew up in, as a matter of fact, was named St. Augustine's also. And as I got older, I realized that we had racial discrimination within my church, but it was a black church. And I didn't realize it till I was almost an adult. Everyone in my church was fair-skinned. And I learned as I got older, they didn't encourage members to come in that were not fair-complected or light-skinned. And like I said, I was an adult when I realized, you know, that I just assumed the people that were coming there were, you know, just the members that have always, that's all I knew. And like I say, as I got older and got involved more with the church and discussing the racial issues that we have, we had it in the Episcopal Church, that's when I realized, I said, I grew up in that and didn't realize it. But I had I love my church. It was just like I love this church. It's a great, great church. Then when that church closed, because of, they started closing some of the churches because the attendance wasn't as good. And that's when I went to St. Thomas, and that's the original first black church of the Episcopal Church in Philadelphia.
Okay, that's Absalom Jones founded that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I was there till I moved here.
So I guess in addition to the St. Augustine's you grew up in, or St. Thomas, who or what were important religious influences on you growing up?
We had a very good youth group, and our youth directors were really great with us young people. You know, they kept us on track. And I grew up in a time when, you know, any adult told you something, you did it. It didn't have to be. It didn't have to be your mother or your father. If it was an adult, and your parents knew them, they could correct you, they could punish you, and they could whip you. When I say whip, you know, they could take a little strap to you if they need it. But, you know, we can't do that now. But but that's how I came up in. And so we had a lot of youth activities. My church had two parish halls, a lower and an upper. And the upper was for the youth because that's where we had our dances. We could have dances, and we had a bowling alley in our church. So we had a yep, in the basement we had a bowling alley. So we had a lot of activities, you know, to keep us involved. And of course, back then, as you got older, you know, older teenager, where you could start going to dances and things, my mother always said, you can go out on Saturday, but you're going to be in church on Sunday. And so that's the way it was. But we didn't mind. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed it.
What was St. Augustine's like when you first joined? Would this have been early 80s or so, something like that?
It was late 80s.
Late 80s.
Late
okay.
80s. Mm-hmm. It was late 80s. In what respect?
Just sort of what the congregation was like, sort of the vibe of things.
Oh, like I say, very. The congregation was very involved, and we had people from all nationalities here when I came. We had people that were from Hawaii. We had people that were from Korea. We had, it was so intermingled with different nationalities. And we all got along. I mean, like I say, to me, this church has always been a loving church. And was always there to support our members. If something happened, somebody was right there to help. Always. Always.
So think about from the late 80s to the present, what kind of trajectory have you seen at St. Augustine's? Like we're from then to now, what's been the path?
Well, we went through quite a bit when we lost Father Phelps to become canon. We went through Sister Ellen. We had Joe Bowden. We had Sister Elaine. Elena, yeah. We had
Jason.
who?
Jason.
Yeah, but before Jason, we had Harriet. But so we went through a lot of changes that the congregation had to, we had to change each time a different person came in, and there were changes, and some people are not quick to,
adjust.
yeah, they want to, stick with the way they were doing. But when you get every time you get a different leader, there's going to be changes. And because we were getting them so close, and then when Reverend Harriet came, she got breast cancer. So we were helping her come through her. So that's to say that the congregation was there each time we made the changes. And really, the people have changed, but I don't think what St. Augustine's is all about has changed, because there's still, even though we've gotten new members, we attract the same kind of people that are already here, loving, caring people. So that's the way I see it.
So those, I guess in the early to mid 2000s, with all the leadership change, was that a time of, struggle for the church?
To a degree, because when I was on the search committee when we brought in Reverend Jason, we went through, some changes there. And then also during the time he was here. And he was new. He had never been over a parish. So I worked in the office at that time. Nancy and I worked in the office. And so she and I were giving him motherly advice. Because we had children the age of, close to his age. And so, we would kind of help him along, guide him, and give him suggestions. Of course, he had the final say, but we kind of gave him some directions, to kind of give him a hand. And, but we made it through that time, and then there was, changes made, but we all, we hung in there. We hung in.
Yeah. What do you think it's said the last 5 years, through the pandemic and the, just hardship of that?
As far as the church goes,
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a change after COVID. I think we lost some of the closeness because we were not together. We were following the service on Zoom, but we didn't have our congregation together. So after going through that and getting back, I think we went through some changes. our social, was not cohesive like it had been, the socialness that we had with each other. And then, then as time progressed, we got better.
Okay.
But I think it did definitely made a change.
Do you think sort of recovering that closeness is still a work in progress?
Yes. I do. I don't know, hopefully in time we'll get back to that real closeness that we had. And it seems to be moving in that direction. It's just been slow.
So thinking about other churches that you've been a part of, or just other churches, say in this community, what do you think that St. Augustine's is known for? Maybe sort of not what you know it as, but what the sort of the public face it has.
Well, I'll tell you what one of my friends says to me all the time. We're the eatinest church she ever known.
Hedonist?
Hedonist.
Oh, hedonist. Oh.
She said, every time I turn around, you guys are eating. You got some, and I sent her our Canterbury Tales. She likes to read it. And she says, you're eating again. And I just told her yesterday. I said, yes. I said, and tomorrow we have breakfast, and then we have potluck. I said, we do that once a month. She said, yeah, I know, I see that.
Brings people together, doesn't it?
Well, that's what that's what I told her. I said, well, that brings people together. Food is an important part of your relationship with your congregation. It's because that's when you have time that you can sit and talk about other things, family, if you want to communicate with each other, something going on with your family. Whereas, in churches, that's not the time for that discussion, but after church, you have that social time. And that's why it affected us so much during the COVID and coming back, because we didn't have that. Of course, a lot of us talk to different ones on the phone, but as my husband used to say, I want to see your face because you can tell me anything on the phone. But I can look at you in the face and know whether you're telling me the truth or not, So, we miss that part.
So thinking about just your own individual life, what has your kind of life and faith been like?
Well, during my divorce, I stopped going to church for 3 years after my divorce. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. I just had no interest of coming. And then after 3 years, one day I just said to myself, I'm going back to church. And I came back to church. So that, I think it had to do with going through the divorce period. It was hard for me. Because I came down here with a husband and ended up not having one. So it was hard. So I realized it was time to come back to church. And so I came back and been constant since. It made a big difference for me, coming back.
What's a part of the worship service that you especially connect with?
You know it, the music.
Is it time for karaoke?
Yes.
You mentioned music.
No, if I don't have my music, it's not church to me. That's why I've never come to every party. I have got to have the music. The music goes with the gospel. It goes with our prayers. Yes, it's definitely. That's why when we were going through that period, I was shouting at the board meetings, Reverend Terry, we got to get some music, got to have that music. Yeah, that's my thing.
So with with the blossoming of the choir, does that feel better to you?
Oh, yes, 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 they've done an excellent, he's doing an excellent job, the choirs, yes, I love it. I love it.
So, is there a question?
I think they're in the
Okay,
kitchen,
sorry.
someone in the
Um,
kitchen.
Do you have a favorite book of the Bible or Bible passage that's especially meaningful to you?
I like to read Psalms. That's my favorite chapter in Psalms.
Why is that?
Because it has a lot of love in the song. It expresses a lot of love.
What's your favorite hymn?
Oh boy, it's a lot of them. I like to Breathe on Me, Breath of God. Precious Lord. There's some others too, but I kind of like those. Just As I Am, I like that one.
If you could wave a magic wand and have an immediate change at St. Augustine's, what would it be?
I would just love to see more children. I would just love to see more children. We're going through a period where we don't have a lot of, and children represent our future congregation. So I would love to see us have, because when I first came here, we must have had 25, 30 kids in our youth group. It was unreal. And they were always doing something. And see, the church I came from, we had a large youth group. So I was glad when I saw that. And I'd love us to have that again.
Would a bowling alley help? That's amazing that the church had it.
Yeah, we had a bowling, and it was was in the church already.
awesome.
Mhm.
Now, let me make sure of the bowling alley. Was there somebody that came and set up the pins after you rolled it, or do you actually have a pin setter?
No, we had a pin setter. Yeah.
This is kind of related to an earlier question, but thinking about your own life and faith, what is a really positive personal religious experience that you've had?
In respect with the church,
The church, your own individual faith, all the both and.
I think when my husband passed away, Reverend Jason was here, Father Billy was my husband's priest. And as he was transitioning, a glow came over him. I had never seen anything like that. And he transitioned. That was a true experience for me. And Father Billy had said to him, because he was hanging on, and Father Billy said, "All right, Walter, you can let go. We're gonna take care of Lily." And once he said that, and that glow hit, Nancy was there, Carolyn was there. Helen, were you there? You were in there too. Yeah, they were all in. It was truly an experience. And that was when I knew my faith was really strong.
Sorry, I feel like I should know this, but I don't. Was this a second marriage? Okay, gotcha.
Walter was my second husband.
Gotcha, okay.
And he always said if I hadn't come down here, we wouldn't have met. So don't dwell in my divorce. Cause we dated 13 years before. He kept asking and I just wasn't ready. But he was there. He said, I'm staying right here. I'm hanging in.
And he attended St. Albans.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, members here thought he was a member here also, just did not come as often because I had on, several occasions where members said, where's Walter? And one time, it was, I don't remember, it was a man, I remember that. And I said, he's at his church. What do you mean at his church? I thought he went here. I said, no, he goes to St. Albans. I said, but we support each other. So you see him over here and they see me over there. I could go over to St. Albans and go in their kitchen and just like I come here and go in, and he did the same thing. He came in here if he wanted a cup of tea, he'd go in there, make him a cup of tea. We supported each other. That was the first thing Father Phelps asked us when we were planning getting married, and he said, Lillian, you're not leaving, are you? I said, no. Walter and I have already discussed it. He's going to stay at St. Albans. I'm going to stay here, and we're going to support each other. And that's what we did. That's what we did.
What do you think about the state of the nation or the world today?
Oh, I'm very fearful. Very fearful. We're going through some hard things. I would just like the two parties to communicate and try to make some accomplishments, some good accomplishments, because right now our country's just torn up. It's torn apart.
What do you think the church, here I guess I mean sort of capital C, what do you think the church should be doing or saying in the moment we're in? Or doing or saying?
Well, I've known from over the years that the Episcopal Church does not truly get involved with politics on a Sunday basis. But I don't see any harm with maybe having some communication with what's going on in the world today outside of church. But, in the parish hall where you can have discussions. Like when we did the racial discrimination, when we had that group, we accomplished a lot with that. And I think that's something, that we could do. But I don't think it's the places in the sermon or in the church, so.
I've got a final question, but before I get to that, does anyone have questions they'd like to ask?
I found your comment about when you were talking about you and everything very interesting. And the first thing that popped in my mind when you were talking was Aretha Franklin's old song, Respect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's gone way down the tubes over
Yes.
the years and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and especially probably in the last 20 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it has to do with this.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm.
Outreach was always an important aspect that I remember you.
Yes, I took it over from you. Remember, I don't remember what did you do when I took outreach? Because I had outreach for 15 years. I didn't leave outreach until Father Jason came. Once he came and got his footing in good, that's when I got out of it, because I was getting burned out. But Father Phelps called me on my job to ask me to do that, and I hadn't been here maybe 2 months, and he called me on my job and asked me.
Make a comment about Father Phelps. It's kind of like Reverend Terry, Mother Terry. You got a subtle way of twisting your arm.
Exactly.
That the next
He
thing
knew
you
how
do is
to
volunteer for
approach
four
you.
things.
That's right. And like I say, he called me on the job and he says, Lillian, how are you doing? And I said, fine. And I'm thinking to
Watch out.
myself, why is he calling me on my job? You know, what is going on? I thought something. So he says, I would like to get John Warner to do whatever it was he wanted you to do. He says, and so I need someone to take over outreach. And I said, you do? And he said, yes. He said, so would you think about it? Because I really think you do an excellent job. And I said, all right, Father Phelps, I'll let you know on Sunday. And that when I came to church that Sunday, I told him I would. I had no idea I'd be involved in it for 15 years, but I was, and I liked it. And we didn't do a lot in outreach at that time. And when I, got involved in it and realized what little we had done, I said, we've got to do more than this. This parish is capable of doing more. So my program, we did something different once a month. I had something going every month. And so we did that, for years. And then after I came off of it, is that when you went back on it?
I did it for a while.
For a while, yeah. But I'm a people person. I love people. And I like talking with people. And when you talk with someone, you must listen. There's no need in talking if you're not listening. And that's how you learn, through listening to what people are saying. And then you can help them. If you're not truly listening, you can't truly help. So, but I enjoyed my time with outreach, and then I went to we had mother-daughter teas. I did those for 5 years. And then when Father Said came, he wanted me to do outreach outside of the church. And that's when I started doing the bus trips for seniors. So, I've always been involved.
I've got a final, very serious question. How many hats do you have?
I don't know. I have no idea. I know I'll have a lot.
I don't think I've ever seen the same one twice.
I came from a family of hat women. All my mother, my aunts, my grandmother, they all were hat people. And my sister and I both are hat. Now she tells me all the time, you have more than I have. But when I go home to visit, I don't take hats, I wear hers because there's something different.
Well, thank you for sharing your stories with us this morning. This has been great.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, appreciate it.
enjoyed